What's the name of the place?
A-U-M. It's across from the Great Greek. It's very close to here.
Okay.
Om and Gardens. A-U-M and Gardens. Costs $20. And you also feel phenomenal. He says it's the equivalent of an acupuncture treatment
Okay.
because your body floods with chi.
6:30 Tuesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll let you talk, Mr. Miller.
No problem.
Okay.
I talk enough.
The valley's finally starting to get things because the valley used to be death.
I bet. Not anymore.
But now
Yeah, it's always on the west side. It seems like Santa Monica and closer to Venice.
I'm
and all that kind of
always
stuff.
driving down there for everything, and
Yeah.
now stuff is happening there.
It's good.
Mhm.
Was everybody cozy?
Yeah.
You guys need
I like the
anything?
fire.
And this is
Yeah.
phenomenal. Is that a photograph?
We got that at
It's an IKEA.
Really? You
Yeah.
don't know the story of it.
No, I think it might be in Costa Rica. I've had a few people see it and go, "Is that the rope bridge in Costa Rica?" I'm like, maybe. I don't know.
Because it's so mysterious.
We thought about getting real rope and extending it along the wall. Of the rope.
Yeah, when it comes to kind of like bringing a real rope out.
That'd be cool.
I bet you everybody asks about that, huh?
We get a few questions.
And then we get a couple, oh, that's IKEA.
Yeah, we definitely get some of that.
I'd have to find wooden rope. Not wooden, but like.
Yeah, that same kind of
Yeah.
texture, that viney kind of rope.
We were kind of kidding, but that would be kind of funny.
You would be.
No, I was pretty serious about it. Well, whoa, sit here for a few minutes and get my little spiel together here. So yeah, I do this. You guys are both new, and Rachel and Andrew haven't been here before. Carrie knows what these are about, but
Not really, because this is the first one I've sat in.
that's true.
Because then I'm usually entertaining kids.
Well, I'll give my spiel then. All right.
No, you don't have to. I've heard the spiel.
No, well, I'll give the edited spiel.
Okay.
So yeah, I grew up in a very spiritual home. I grew up in a Christian home and Nazarene, and we, really from an early age, I felt a connection with the Holy Spirit. I felt the realness of it. When I was about 8, I had a real encounter with the Holy Spirit and really just felt, this need to go to the altar and confess my sin and accept Christ. And I did that. And it was a very intense experience. I really felt it at 8. Like I knew what it meant on a lot of levels internally, I knew what it meant. But there was a lot of questions, in my head, and I was hyperactive and on Ritalin. So I had all that confusion to deal with. But over the years, I stuck to that path, very tried and true. And when I was about 17, there were some things that happened that really made me question the church, made me question just the honesty and integrity of some of the people there. And a lot of stones were being turned over, and a lot of things were, scampering away out of that. And to me, I had to do what was right for me and really just seek out what was wrong with all the other things that I was told were wrong. I was raised to not that we saw Buddhist people walking around Sandusky, but if a Buddhist person walked by in the robes and things like that, when I was a teenager, I probably would have thought, oh, that poor person, they're going to hell because they don't have Jesus in their heart, and that would just be because of my upbringing and the way that I was raised. And that didn't set well with me, and I wanted to know what more was out there. And I really, at the same time, really was trying to figure out how to do more with infusing spirit into music and use my music for a divine purpose. But I was angry, and I was going through all these, other things, and, playing angry, heavy metal music and doing that stuff. And it got to a point where eventually I just kind of had to break free of everything that I was in my hometown, pack up, move out here, and everything really started to open up from there. All my training in martial arts blossomed when I got here. All the other things that had, enhanced my spirit, even though I was seeking and questioning all these things, really started to come together. And a friend of mine took me to the Bodhi Tree bookstore and was looking for a different book by Hazrat Inayatiyya called The Music of Life. And when I was looking around, I found this book, The Mysticism of Sound and Music. And when I picked it up and I started flipping through it and I was reading it, I was just like, man, this is everything that I've been trying to express about how I feel like the soul and music connect, how God and music connect, and how God and everything connects. And it just, the more I was reading it, the more I was just like, I gotta have this book. I was the only one walking around like this. So I bought it and I read it literally 2 or 3 times within a month. And it just, it opened something in me. It turned a light on in me. And it made me just really look at my whole spiritual upbringing and how to really see it through a different light, and how to really see it from what's my note in the symphony of life. Because that's what his, whole teaching is, that we all have our own note within the symphony of life. And to me, that's just so profound. So I got into more of his work and studied it for a while. And then I met, I wanted to find a teacher, and I was seeking out a Sufi center, found Tasneem in Burbank. And I started going to classes with her. And I think it maybe 5 or 6 months after I started with her, I got initiated as a Sufi. And yeah, it's been just this unfolding of more understanding of how everything comes together. And the more I dive in, the more it makes me just see everything so much clearer. It's just been such a beautiful path for me. And, and it doesn't take away from my Christian upbringing. It makes me see what being a Christ is really about. When you really want to know what it means to really share the light and the love of Christ, and to be that compassion and that healer and that healing presence. And that really dove me more into wanting to be a healer. And so I joined the healing order probably 8 years ago, and then
The Sufi healing order?
Yeah, the Sufi healing order.
Which one?
The North American Sufi healing order that Debbie's the head of. And so yeah, I begged her for about 4 years to train me and to try to figure out how I could make it to a retreat or whatever I needed to do to make it happen. And eventually she said, I'm going to do this beta training, I'm going to be my beta tester for my new training project. So I trained with her for about 1.5 years, and then she initiated me as a healing conductor. And then I started this class last August. So, is that Razak?
I didn't see it.
No.
Somebody is with a hat.
It may be for us, maybe not. All right. Sikander.
From Rashida Tasneem.
Oh, no way.
That's so sweet.
Amazing.
So she said she wanted if I was doctor's office. So as a sign of her support.
So beautiful. I'm gonna put these in.
What kind of club was it?
No. This is you sent me over. It's my teacher. I love that picture. She's out in the garden. I love that picture. I printed out of her because she's out in the garden.
Oh yeah, that's right. I know that's a beautiful picture.
And I kind of was fond of roses, so I just tried to put a rose out.
Oh. But this is is that
That's
Tasneem?
Tasneem, yeah.
Tasneem is Hispanic, I believe, originally. Huh?
Yeah.
But you know she was a Sufi in a past life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what really amazed me, and you know, they're out here for film school, and I was telling them about California, how there's the opportunities. Like when I was really into Bruce Lee when I got into martial arts, as every dude is when he gets into martial arts.
Spiritualist.
Yeah, he was a Buddhist and very
Yeah, he
deep,
was quite spiritual.
deep spiritual teacher. So I got into a lot of his stuff, and that kind of was where the whole idea expanded of taking my music and the spiritual thing a little farther. And then when I got out here, I met a guy that taught at a school that was started by Bruce Lee's training partner, Dan DeSanto. So I was like, wow, that's really cool. It's like almost like second generation, teacher. And so that was really cool. And then when I met Tasneem, she actually studied with Pir Vilayat, who's Inayat Khan's son, for 35 years. So, I mean, you can't get too much closer to the source than that. We'll wait for Razak. But yeah, he's heard my spiel, so I can finish up that. But yeah, long story short, I was really drawn to the Sufi path, and it just, the message is really about love, harmony, and beauty. It's very inclusive of all religions, all faiths, all beliefs. And so I try to speak a lot about his music and teachings in that respect.
Oh, you can sit here if you want. I don't.
Yeah, I was thinking there's options.
With the dog.
Are you comfortable with them?
I'm comfortable except I have to do that.
How old are your girls?
Just the shorter one is mine, and she's almost 4.
Oh.
Yeah, and the neighbor's 5.
But she's a beautiful child.
Thank you.
Oh, I thought they were both your daughters.
No, just
You
one.
only have one daughter.
Just one, yeah.
That's good.
One and done, he said.
She is very good. I love her hair.
Yeah. The thing in the mornings, like I'll brush her hair, and it'll be all neat and nice, and then like she gets in the car seat, and the car seat's pushing all the curls up. By the time we get to school, it's just. Or mommy will brush your hair real nice.
It's gonna frustrate her later. She's older.
Yeah.
She'll find a way to manage it.
Oh my goodness, what was that?
Just the little doorbell on the door there.
And this couch is real leather, huh?
Yeah. We got this is Craigslist.
Yeah.
Oh, what a deal you got.
Yeah, this was really it was a really expensive couch, and this guy was just moving out of his place, and he was like down to the last couple of days, and he's like, I'm just desperate to get rid of it.
Probably thousands of dollars originally.
Yeah.
From
I
Brazil.
think we got it for maybe $1,100 or
It's
$1,200.
gorgeous.
I think it was probably a $4,000 or $5,000.
They're usually from Brazil, these leather
Yeah.
couches. And fits her perfectly.
Yeah, I love the color too.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to do a shopping on Craigslist for me.
Yeah,
Get a place.
I'll teach you all the skills.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got the Craigslist skills. I've been selling and buying. Nope, that's for you.
And then you've got Sandusky on which country here, so.
Sandusky is about one step from an Irish country, so
If that's your point, that's pretty much the only.
that's what I tell people out here. I'm like,
Right.
you ever seen Tommy Boy? That place, except that wasn't really Sandusky.
Excuse me, what time does it over?
I usually get done talking about 8, and then we do a little jam session if there's anybody who wants.
Oh,
to jam.
okay, 8. What time is it?
It's about 20 after 7.
Okay, thanks a lot. But the jam session, is it like singing classic? Or?
No, we just kind of, sometimes I'll do, I'll have like a chant or mantra that we'll work on.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it'll
You
be just
You give notes to people?
Yeah, yeah. If it's something that we're all gonna do together, sometimes it'll just be a little jam session where we just all kind of play music and kind of try to bring a little spirit out.
Good, Jason.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, it's very good.
Good jokes.
Glad to see something. I was trying to get here at 6. This is the best I could do.
Oh, no problem. Not a problem at all. Doing okay?
It'll be okay.
All right. So anyway, I'm going to start here with just tonight. I kind of wanted to go over a little bit about a theme that was brought up in the Bolasaki the other day. Bolasaki is it's a daily kind of food for thought tidbit, if you will, nugget of wisdom that Hazrat Inayatiyya Khan put together, and he had one for each day. And we get it in an email, and the email has commentary and some things in there that really pick apart what the meaning of it is. So a few weeks ago, on the 14th, this particular one came up. Man is the picture of the reflection of his imagination. He is as large or as small as he thinks himself. And that really in itself says a lot. Man is the picture of the reflection of his imagination. He is as large or as small as he thinks himself. So a lot of times definitely a lot of the secret and a lot of the positive thinking and power of positive thinking, we hear a lot of we hear a lot of that kind of stuff about using imagination, and definitely is the whole idea of as large or small as you think yourself are is how far you're going to go. But this idea of imagination I wanted to explore a little bit, because when it comes to healing work, imagination is something that's really extremely important when it comes to esoteric healing, and a lot of the type of work that I'm starting to get involved in. And so I wanted to kind of talk about music tonight a little bit, but talk a little bit more about healing, and a little bit about this particular topic of imagination and how it works to mold all that. So I'm just going to say real quick before I get started, I start the Sufi invocation. It's just a little prayer that we do at the beginning of our gatherings, and I know Razak knows it. If anyone else knows, you're welcome to chime in. Otherwise, you can just listen to it. Enjoy. So, towards the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. So I'd like to just give a quick thought to Tasneem, and thanks for the beautiful flowers. And she's actually in, I think, Madison, Wisconsin? Minneapolis. I get the two mixed up. She's actually doing a retreat this weekend herself, so my heart definitely goes out to her where she is. So anyway, I'm going to start back here again. Man is the picture of the reflection of his imagination. He is as large or as small as he thinks himself. And here's a little bit that Inayatiyya Khan said about that. All works of art and music and poetry come from imagination, for imagination is the free flow of mind. When the mind is allowed to work by itself and bring out the beauty and harmony it contains. But when it is restricted by a certain principle or rule, then it does not work freely. No one has believed in God, no one has loved God, and no one has reached the presence of God who has not been helped by his imagination. So the first half of that really talks about how poetry and art and anything creative, when it's really from that free-flowing place, there's the harmony and the beauty comes out of that free flowing of your imagination. And when it's restricted by a certain principle or rule, then it doesn't work freely. And that's a real key sentence for me. I think when I first had my awakening, I started to really understand that I always had these constructs that I was putting on music and things like that. I mean, my image is a perfect example. Like, I always thought I had to have, you gotta get the tattoos, you gotta get the long hair, you gotta have this, you gotta have that, you gotta have all this stuff to look like a rock star. And after a while, that became less important, and then I whittled away the excesses of that and picked out what was really me expressing myself. And so I think when you put a certain, any kind of constriction, which is even an idea in your mind, any idea that you have of, this is how something's supposed to be, or this is how a certain thing works, you've constricted it in a way that it's not allowing that freedom of, something more divine or something greater to come through. So, and then that idea, no one has believed in God, no one has loved God, and no one has reached the presence of God who has not been helped by his imagination. So you really have to have God is something that we can't touch. It's not something that we can see in a tangible way like that. So you have to have some sort of imagination, some way of letting your mind connect with the feelings in your heart that allow that realization to come through. So he goes on to say that then there's the person who has imagination which is strengthened by faith. He not only prays to God, but he prays before God, in the presence of God. Once imagination has helped a man to bring the presence of God before him, God is awakened in his own heart. Then before he utters a word, it is heard by God. When he is praying in a room, he is not alone. When he is there with God, he is there with God. No problem. Then to him, God is not in the highest heaven, but close to him, before him, in him. Then to him, heaven is on earth, and earth is heaven. No one is then so living, so intelligible as God, and all names and forms disappear before him. Then every word of prayer he utters is a living word. It not only brings blessing to him, but to all those around him. So that's something that there's a couple things in here that really strike me. Let's see. He not only prays to God, but he prays before God, in the presence of God. Once imagination has helped a man to bring the presence of God before him, God is awakened in his own heart. And I think that for me, I think that's something that I was missing. I knew how to pray growing up. I knew how to pray, and I could say really great prayers, and I could say it and sound just like the minister up at the pulpit, and I could, just like my Sunday school teacher would say. And I read the verses, and I understood a lot of them, memorized a ton of them, but none of it really explained to me the spark that I felt in my heart at 8 when I had to go to the altar, when I felt that calling and that feeling of the Holy Spirit coming in. That feeling of what was in was not being expressed in ways that said, look within. It kept saying, look without. So to me, this idea of that once your imagination helps you to really bring the presence of God before you. So when you think God is in everything, in him we live, move, and have our being, that's real. It's not just an idea. It's not just a concept. It's not just something that we strive to reach in the next world and in the beyond. I think it's when you have that flash of how real God is in your own heart, it's just like, oh yes, I want to feel that every minute. And I want to give that. I want others to experience it. I want others to know that beauty. And I think for me, I said a lot of vain repetitions over the years, a lot of prayers that were heartfelt, but it was praying from the wrong place. You know, it was praying from here instead of praying from here. And for me, when I finally learned how to pray from the heart and really open up that, man, it just made a huge difference. And then everything that all these mental things that I kept putting up that, you know, this is what I need to be to reach this. And I want this goal to happen, so I got to do this. And I got this to happen, so I do that. All that started to just kind of fall away, you know, and it's taken a lot of years, but kind of still polishing the mirror a little bit. So yeah, that part really struck out to me. And he goes on to say that when one invokes the names of God, one forgets his limitations and expresses his soul with the thought of the unlimited, which brings him to the ideal of limitlessness. This is the secret of life's attainment. And so he said, this is the secret of life's attainment. I better read it again. When one invokes the names of God, one forgets his limitations and impresses his soul with the thought of the unlimited, which brings him to the ideal of limitlessness. So there's a lot in that one sentence, really, but we talk a lot about invoking the names of God, and the names of God are different qualities. So in Sufism, we do a lot of like the chants that we do, like it in Buddhism, they do like Om Mani Padme Hum. They do the different things in that context. The Hindus have their chants that are kind of in that context, and with the Sufis, you know, most of the sound healing that we do, most of the sound work that we do, most of the work that we do with sound in general is done kind of focused around wazif, and wazif is basically just another expression of the names, and the names are all different qualities of God. So when we say,
how
like,
many are there in
99.
Oh.
And I don't know them all. I know a few of them, and I get them mixed up a lot too. I'm still trying to learn a lot, but there's definitely phrases that we do in the healing order a lot. We do Ya Shafi and Ya Kafi a lot. When you say Ya is basically like, just like you say Yahweh or Yahovah.
or hallelujah,
Right.
means
Yeah,
praise be to God.
exactly. And it's inviting that. Oh, he's a tough one.
It is
Hello.
supposed to be here.
No problem. Come on in.
That's a lot of praise. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Leslie. Hi.
Welcome. There's food in there. There's coffee. Make yourself at home. Yeah, he's very protective. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
So yeah, we were just talking a little bit about our topic tonight is kind of imagination and how that relates to God and healing, a little bit to music and sound in that respect as well. And we just read a couple of different passages, and the one that we were just talking about was when one invokes the names of God, one forgets his limitations and impressions. When one invokes the names of God, one forgets his limitations and impresses his soul with the thought of the unlimited, which brings him to the ideal of limitless. This is the secret of life's attainment. So I was explaining that in Sufism, we work a lot with the names, and the names of God being different qualities. So I was saying in the healing order, we do Ya Shafi and Ya Kafi, and I know I'm going to get these wrong. They're not going to be exactly correct because I always have to look at it, reference it. But Ya Shafi is basically the divine healer. You're calling on the divine healer, the divine healing presence to come forth. And then Ya Kafi is the sustainer, to sustain that healing, to sustain that well-being. So it's recognizing those different qualities of God and invoking those into the work that you're doing. So it's another way of taking a prayer and putting life into it, igniting a little bit of a fire underneath it by really understanding and recognizing the quality that's there and the quality that's necessary for that sustaining to happen, for that healing to come, and for the sustaining of that healing to come. So really being in a mindset of invoking those. So we do a lot of different breath exercises and things like that. So I have a little wazif practice that we can do at the end of this. But I wanted to mention that a little bit because he mentioned there that when we invoke the names of God, one forgets his limitations and impresses his soul with the thought of the unlimited. So that's the idea, is to realize that if we're created in God's image, all these qualities of the names exist within us, because we're the form. You know, God is formless and he's created us in his image, but we're in this, rubber suit or whatever. And so having these names and these qualities and kind of seeing those different names and qualities and recognizing them and really seeing them as gifts. And we have another class, Ibn Arabi class, that Razak and I are part of, and we're really studying that right now a lot, about the gifts, and the divine gifts, and like knowing how to ask for gifts from God, and knowing when to ask for something personal or something impersonal, that just give me what comes, and so to me, when I think about this passage of invoking the names and forgetting your limitations and impressing your soul with the thought of the unlimited, it just really says a lot to me, because I feel that as my spirit has unfolded over the years, I've seen these qualities. I've seen God in so many things, and they say God works in mysterious ways. I think that's kind of the secret of it, is that there's all these different qualities of what make up the whole being of the total all, however you want to look at it in that respect. But yeah, it's just so understanding the qualities and the names and working with the wazif and working with those names has really helped to invoke that presence and to really give it and be able to be a healing presence, to invoke something divine and give it off, reflect that. And here he talks a little bit more about that reflection. So man is the picture or reflection of his imagination. He is as large as he thinks himself, as great as he thinks himself, as small as he thinks himself to be. If he thinks he is incapable, he remains incapable. If he thinks himself foolish, he will be foolish and will remain foolish. If he thinks himself wise, he will be wise and become wiser every moment. If he thinks himself mighty, he will be mighty. Those who have proved themselves to be the greatest warriors, where did their might come from? It was from their thought, their feeling, I am mighty. The idea of might was impressed on their soul, and the soul became might. The poet had poetry impressed on his soul, and so the soul became a poet. Whatever is impressed upon a man's soul, with that the soul becomes endowed, and that the soul will become. So I think for me, when I started this group, Caravan of Souls, I had a pretty clear vision to me that the idea that was impressed upon my soul was music, to really understand it in a deeper way, to know sound and how it works, and try to figure out how to really check myself. What I'm putting out there, is it really good? Is it giving off a good vibration? Is it carrying out something positive, or is it really destructive? Is it negative? Is it dark? And I wanted to really go back and kind of take a look at what I was putting out there and expressing. And I've kind of always tried to teach over the years that idea, but I just feel really led now to really just understand deeper, what has been impressed upon my soul and how to reflect it. And I think that that's what makes that's what makes our world so amazing, is that we all have something different impressed upon our souls. Me, it's music. You guys are really into film. You know, for someone else, it might be art. Somebody else, it's poetry. For someone else, it might just be, you know, they might really love customer service and do that kind of job. For me, I don't, because I do that work and I don't like it. But, you know, everybody has their little niche, their little thing that makes them unique. And when you look at how everything ties in together and how God's given us all these unique qualities, these unique gifts, and each one of us carries this perfect thing that's ours, that makes us unique. When I say it's ours, it's not really ours, it's still his, you know, but it's ours in that we're unique. And when you look around and when you really embrace that and you really say, wow, you know, I was created this way because I was given this purpose, because I might say something or give something off in a way that reaches a different audience or different people, or says it in a way that, you know, this guy might understand it, where if I said it like my dad said it, or like my teacher says it, or somebody else says it, it may not carry the same weight. So I think that God creates us all with these unique qualities to really embrace that, to really express that. So I feel really it's my duty to take whatever's been given to me and to express it and give it in a way that hopefully inspires other people to want to do that same within themselves, to say, hey, there's a divine spark within me. I'm a gift, you know, and I have these gifts and qualities given to me that I can express in my own unique way. And that makes up the whole beauty of what God is, you know, because if God was all just everybody looking like me, and everybody, you know, everybody with tattoos and dreadlocks, and everybody with, you know, this type of music that they like and this kind of food that they eat and that kind of thing, what a boring world would be. You know, we're into so many different things. We all have different tastes and different flavors and different styles and different, you know, viewpoints. And that's what makes everything beautiful. And that's what makes everybody have wars and religious battles and everything else too, because we want everybody to see how beautiful our gift is, you know, what's been given to us. I love it. It's so passionate to me, and I want to give it to you, and you experience it just like me. But they have their own unique gift, you know. So to me, I feel that understanding that just the different qualities and uniqueness of gifts that we're given helps us to see those gifts in others, and helps us to really embrace humanity more, and to see each other as a bigger part of the whole, you know. I'm just a simple note in the symphony, you know, and that's what drew me to this path in the first place, because Hazrat Knight Khan says, you know, we are all our own note within the symphony of life. And that's so true. And I want to know what that note is, and I want to make sure that it's in tune, and I want to make sure that it's very vibrant and very bright, and that people hear it and that it resonates with them. And you know, so I hope that happens through these events. So that was really what I wanted to read of Inayat Khan, and I won't babble on too much longer about this, but I wanted to kind of transition over into the idea of healing a little bit. You know, with regards to healing, imagination really is the key. Your intention and your heart is really the key. Belief, and really believing in God, believing that you're bringing a divine presence through you that can heal and can be a healing presence to others. And that's really been the task for me these last couple of years in my training. And as I move forward, I want to continue to be that, and to channel a divine presence and try to really give that and be that light for someone. And it's really creating a space. It's really creating a space within yourself where you can listen to the other person, hear what they're going through in an understanding way, and help them find a way through it. It's not about saying this is the way, or you have to do this, or, you know, go home and drink this and take that and you'll be healed in a week. It's not like that. It has to unfold. Healing has to happen with each individual. And when I think of myself as a healer or an aspiring healer, I think of myself much more as a tuner, like an instrument tuner, you know, and I have to make sure that I'm in tune and and that I resonate in a way that I can help other hearts and other souls to be in tune and aligned, and help them find their own method of tuning themselves and getting back in tune. So with regards to healing, imagination is extremely important. So when he says, man is the picture of the reflection of his imagination, he is as large or as small as he thinks himself. So if you think about, I'm sure you can think of times that I can think of many times that things have been fine. I've had a great day. My mood's good. My energy level's great. And I have one little bit of bad news or one little snippet of something that just changes my mood. And then the next thing you know, a couple hours later, no energy, everything's negative. Just, that's it. One little thing, just switch that, and change that whole energy. And, that's really the mind. That shows you how the power of the mind really affects the body, because you can physically make yourself ill in the course of a few hours just by changing your thinking. And when you think about it in terms of, I've definitely put myself in a little funk, it works the other way too. If you're in a situation where you want to find healing, or you need healing to come to you, you have to be open to it. But you have to have that visualization and that imagination. You have to have that idea and that concept of God is working through me and working in me. And if I have the power to heal myself, it's not because of me. It's not by my might, So that's where using the imagination and invoking that healing presence, really seeing God in your heart, really, when we say Christ living in our heart, having that healing presence in your heart that shines through and comes through and radiates out through your body and heals it. And that can happen, and it does happen. And so I think kind of one of the things that I just wanted to impress a little bit tonight was, when we think of imagination, we think of our idea of something, or we think, when I think of imagination, I think of my daughter, and I think of how she would draw something or how she would do something, because she has this creative imagination. And that's kind of as far as we take it with that word. It doesn't really go any farther for us than those couple little ideals that we have about what imagination means. But really using a visual concept and a mental attachment, stepping into more healing terminology, getting into the domain of the mind and clearing out what's in that domain, and then stepping into the domain of the heart and clearing out what's in that domain. Because there's all these different layers of what we have in our junk and our stuff that's going on, all the different things that we need to heal, might reside in a different layer, a different area. And so having the ability to imagine those areas and to really visualize and to really see those kinds of things. Like, I've had this stomach issue for years. I've had all kinds of tests, and they haven't really found anything wrong with me. I've changed my diet a ton, became vegetarian last year, and it's better. But I know in my heart that it's something emotional, because it resides in that center, in that area, and it's always emotionally triggered and things like that. So I've been going through this process of trying to really create a space to be open to whatever comes up from that. But yeah, I feel the physical sensation here to where I want to say, it's this part, or it's that part, or it's this or that. But in the end, it's always something emotionally triggered. So all those different the mind-body connection and all that kind of thing. Imagination is just such a really powerful tool when it comes to healing. When it comes to sound healing, and this is really kind of, I guess, a little bit more my specialty, it's really understanding what the frequencies are and where they correspond to. Like I mentioned before, I have the F bowl, and F is a node that corresponds with the heart chakra. So using the F bowl really gets the heart vibrating, the chest area vibrating, really gets you feeling this expansive and this openness. And if you really go into the sound and really just breathe with it and breathe the sound in and out, eventually you'll just feel this expanding opening of the heart. So it's working with a lot of the different frequencies and things like that, but you have to have the visual component too. And so what I've done in a couple of the different sound healing events that I've done is what we get a person to lay down in the middle of the floor, and then everybody will kind of be in a circle around them like this, and we'll play. Basically, they'll tell us that they have an intention. You know, I want to clear this block in my life, or I want to bring more healing power into my life, more of this or more of that. And so they explain that to the group. They hold that intention in their mind and their heart, and we all hold that intention for them as well. So we all focus on I want to try to help bring more of this to them. They want more. They want this block to go away, and I want to help bring this block away. So bring me something that'll help bring that to them. And so everybody gets around in a circle, person's on the floor, and we just grab any kind of instrument. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Tuning forks, drums, didgeridoos, you know, the washboard, anything, you know. And what everybody's just kind of called to do, you do. Whatever sound comes forth, comes forth. Sometimes it sounds like chaos. Sometimes it sounds really beautiful and really just like, it's like a journey. It's really crazy how it goes. But we did one of these about maybe 5-6 months ago at a friend's studio, and we probably had about 10 or 12 of us. And the experience for each one was just so unique and so different, you know, but it really takes that imagination. It really takes that using the mind to support the sound and the vibration to bring about that healing within the body. The visual part of it's really important. So I just wanted to kind of mention a little bit about imagination and a few of the things that Mershid said about that. Anybody, any comments or thoughts or?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part, but did you give a history of Sufism? It's not a religion, right?
It's not. No, it's really a philosophy. It's really hard to pin it back. It really predates Islam, but it's very much tied in with Islamic mysticism, or it's like the mystical branch of Islam. It's not, and see, that's the thing. It's such a diverse, what do I say? Path, I guess. It's really more of a path. It's accepted of all religions, all faiths. There's definitely Sufi organizations in other countries and things like that that are more strict Muslim faith, strict Islam, those types of things. Western Sufism is completely different. And I hope that I have the authority to say that. I think that it's very different in that it's when Hazrat Inayatiyya Khan came over from India in the early 1900s, he came over as a musician, and he was born in a Muslim family, but went to a Hindu school. And then he studied, you know, all these various yogas and spiritual teachings throughout India, you know, while he was there. And when he came here, he came as a musician. And he was this master musician who, by 13, he'd like earned every accolade in India you could get. And he came here, and he and his brothers, and they did some touring, and they met this woman named Ruth St. Dennis, I believe was her name. She was an old opera singer, and they did a whole touring company with them backing her dance company. And then he started giving lectures, and these lectures became so just intense, and the crowds grew that he eventually just gave up the music and became a spiritual teacher, started the Sufi order in the West. And it's really it.
Well, his teacher gave him the command. Madani
Yeah,
told him that he was to unite the East and West with his music. But when he came, he found out the Westerners. This was in 1910, and he found out the West didn't understand Indian music. So when they played the music, everybody was like, it was like from outer space to them. So he realized that he couldn't do it with music. And to him, jazz sounded like chaotic craziness. So he realized that he couldn't do it with music. So he started. He actually gave up music because he gave up the thing that he loved the most in order to bring the message to the West. And so he started lecturing after that. And he lectured for many years. And he also founded I just want to say one other thing.
Yeah.
Because you were saying like, really this type of understanding was mostly nurtured. It came through. It's the Abrahamic religion. So you might as well say it started with Abraham. This particular revelation, but it was even before that. But the Abrahamic revelation includes Jews, Christians, and Muslims. Those are the three Abrahamic religions, and those three religions together are a complete revelation. Not one of them is, it's kind of like in my own. No, this is me, but I'm just saying that each one of those revelations was part of the whole revelation that culminated in the final revelation with Muhammad. But so Sufism was nurtured within Islam, and all of the great Sufi saints and all that came up through the Islamic lines. But when Hazrat Khan came to the United States, he realized that most of the people are to the West, because he started in Europe, in Paris, which is where his home was, and the Netherlands. But after he moved from India, but he realized that that most people were Christians that he talked to. So he brought in, like when you read his lectures, he's always giving Bible quotes. He's always talking about the Bible, because that was what he knew people could resonate with. But he founded a church called Church of All. But the Church of All is on the altar. There's 7 books, and it has the Quran, the Torah, the Christian Gospels, the Zoroastrian, the
Bhagavad Gita.
In other words, the Hindu, and there's 6 of the major scriptures on the altar, and then the 7th one is left blank, and you can put in the feminine or Native American or any of the other, because there's infinite number of revelation. The Hazrat says there's been 124,000 prophets. So to humanity, throughout the humanity. So in other words, God is always speaking to humanity. And it's
always incarnating himself.
Yes, exactly. Because that's what that's what we actually are. When the spirit leaves us, the body falls to the ground and is inanimate. So we know the spirit is what animates our body. So anyway, so when he came to the West, he said, no, you don't have to be a Muslim. You don't have to be this. You don't have to be that. You can keep your own religion if you want. This is not a religion, and it's not, incumbent upon anybody to go, to convert from the religion they believe in or anything. It's not anything like that. It's mostly just, it's a way to understand the inner realities of being human, so to speak, I would say. What do you think that?
Yeah,
it's kind of like the mystical is like who, what is our relation to God, and who are we as, from the inside out kind of thing. And I don't say it very well, and I'm not a teacher. So, but I've studied it for a few years, and so that's just something I can add.
No, I'm not a teacher.
Oh, what company do you work for?
I work for a telephone company.
Oh, telephone
I'm just a sales
Oh, okay.
secretary.
I thought you worked for something else. I was looking at the company name.
No, but you probably recognize me from my little music thing I'm starting.
Oh,
I recognize
I
you.
know, I recognize you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your hair was blonde,
I thought it was red in the
light
picture.
blonde.
Really? Oh, that's just another.
Only in your
Inayatiyya?
imagination.
It's nice.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so you can have any religion you want. No, I mean you can be Jewish, you can be Christian, you can
Right.
be.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Atheist,
such
I
things.
guess.
Yeah, there's Christian Sufis, there's Muslim Sufis,
Yeah.
Jewish Sufis. You know, and that was the thing for me. Like, when I came to like question Christianity as my faith, when I came to say, do I want to be a Christian because I don't know if I believe in all the things. I mean, I believe in the things that I've been feeling, but not all the things that I've been taught and that people are saying. And I kind of gave a little of my history that I was raised in a real strict Christian home and had a real deep spiritual, life in the Christian church. And when I was about 17 or so, a lot of things kind of made me question the integrity of some people in the church, and there was a lot of lies and things being done and just shady stuff that made me go, wait a minute. If I'm supposed to be living this way, these people aren't living this way, and
Right.
what they've been telling me, all these other people are going to hell, so maybe I should go see what's wrong with these people. So I started studying all these other religions and other faiths, and eventually when I found Sufism, it was really just a couple of books by Inayatiyya that just really just opened up so much in me and really helped me awaken to a deeper understanding of my own faith. And I began to go back and really sit down with Jesus and have some real conversations and some real heart to hearts and say, I've said some pretty shitty things, about your organization, or whatever,
Yes, it wasn't.
It wasn't right.
He had absolutely nothing
Absolutely.
to do with the foundation of the Christian church.
Right.
Nothing. Or the Vatican. Nothing. Zero. Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like it helps you connect with your personal belief.
It's totally that. So
Oh.
when I got the book and I read it, my mom, God love her, she's always worried about my soul and where, how I'm doing. And but she didn't really understand what mysticism was, and so she looked it up, and the actual dictionary definition of mysticism is a close communion with God. So that's just says it perfectly, because it's really about finding some way to realize that God is within us, that not somewhere distant or not somewhere afar, that he's in everything and moving through everything and in part of everything. And then when you connect to it on that level in yourself, then you can see it in other people. And then, my healing teacher, she has this great practice. She says, go into Starbucks, and when you order your coffee next time, imagine that you're looking into the eyes of God when you buy your coffee. You're buying your coffee from God, and see how you look at that person. And I did it the next morning, and I was like, man, that's a trip. Because, when you think about, okay, God's in me, he's living, he's moving through me, he lives in me, he lives in that person too. And when you see that reflected in the eyes, it's like, wow, and it's hard to do every day, and especially hard to do when you look at your boss who's yelling at you or arguing with you or whatever the case may be, or whatever situations you're in like that. But yeah, it's a very integrative path, and I call it a path. Really, I don't really look at it as a religion, or even, I don't even like to say belief. How's right now Khan's grandson Pir Zia, he's the head of the order now. He says he hates that it's Sufism because it's still an ism,
Yeah.
But
That's why Tasneem likes the word tasawwuf.
Yeah.
She says that's really the word. Sufism is not really the word.
What's the word?
Tasawwuf.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Where was Inayatiyya from?
he was from Baroda, India.
Oh, he was a Muslim?
Yeah, he was born in a Muslim family, and he went to a Hindu school. His parents were like, Hindu school's better school, we're going to send him there. And then they had the whole Hindustani music upbringing. So he was really learned a lot of Drupad and that through.
To be fair, almost all the Sufi lineage, like our particular lineage and our order, goes back. It starts Allah, which is God, then Gabriel, Angel Gabriel, which gave the revelation to Muhammad. Then we start at Muhammad. Our silsila starts with Muhammad and goes on from there. So Sufism, really, if you're talking about Sufism, you can't really separate it from Islam, because all of the great Sufis, including the greatest master, Sheikh Al-Akbar, Ibn al-Arabi, all of them were strict Muslims, and in the sense that they took all of their inspirations almost exclusively from the Quran.
But my issue is I love Sufism, but I don't like Islam.
Well,
I hate it.
but what about the Quran? Do you like the Quran?
No, and
Have
I
you
don't
read
like
it?
Muhammad.
Have you read the Quran?
No, and I don't
How
like.
do you know if you like
I
it?
just have a horrible. Muhammad had a wife that was 8 years old.
Well, but that
He
doesn't
ordered-
mean he was having sex with her.
He ordered all
He
the
had
Jews
he had
killed.
a lot of wives.
He had all the Jewish women raped and all their men killed. I have no respect for him. I always come up against this. And I
Well-
love Sufism, and I can't stand
Even if
Islam.
you hated Muhammad and
Mhm.
you hated the fact of him, I mean, Abraham sold his wife Sarah as a prostitute because he was afraid that God was going to kill him. I mean, the Jews have that in it too. All the religions have that kind of stuff in it. You know,
We go
if you
deep.
read the Bible, you're going like, wow, this was a man who walked with God.
But I don't like any of the organized religions.
That's
I only
okay,
like
but-
wild rebel mystics.
Right, but
That's who I am.
yeah, but that's
I
what
like
we're saying.
Rumi
is-
and no religion, and I hate books.
Yeah,
like
but
the
you
Bible
can't
and the
not
Quran.
separate Rumi from the Quran. And you cannot separate Sufism from the
I
Quran.
understand Sufism precedes Islam. The Sufis existed before Islam did.
Yes, but
Islam is a very new religion.
what I'm saying is that you could hate Jesus, but you can't
I don't
deny
know.
his message.
I don't
You can hate
Jesus.
Abraham, but you can't deny the message. You can hate Muhammad, but you can't deny the message. You could hate Shiva, you could hate Buddha, you could hate anybody you want to hate. But
Thanks
because
God,
you
I
don't
let you
like
go.
the way somebody
And I'm
lived
with
doesn't
you in a
deny
private
that the
session.
fact
Oh, yes,
that
I'll
Can you
people
contact
go out
me
to
and
the
go
West.
tell me the pricing?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I would
It's
like
such a
to see
stupid
what.
argument because we're arguing about eggs and cherry.
Yeah.
Thanks a
And
lot.
Sufism
Bye.
is not about
Thanks for the
eggs and
solution.
cherry.
That's an interesting point.
Bye-bye.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, because we all we're a human incarnation, and part of that is going to involve our struggle as a human, our ego,
Right.
you know, our you know, and the sexes have their different ego issues, but a man's ego is to dominate, is to rule.
Male and female energies.
Right, and then you have that struggle, and I think that's part of our human condition is trying to make sense of all that. And it doesn't make any sense, really. We're part animal, part
And I think
better
that-
than
and I
animal.
think
It's
that's
very
what it-
confusing.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Like at the best, we're spiritual, and at the lowest, we're animal.
Exactly, and the
We're-
truth is somewhere in between there,
We're
I
a continuum.
guess.
We're a continuum. It's like one line.
Because we can't be
We have it
completely
all.
spiritual
We
until
live
we're
in the
down.
animal world. We live in the
We have
spiritual
to
world
live-
all at
yeah,
the same time.
Exactly, and that's just crazy making. It really is.
Well,
Drives me crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, I just to speak real quick to what you said, I have to be really honest. I'm very ignorant with Islam and Muhammad. I don't know much about him. I've got a book over there as one of many that are about the prophets, and I've read that, and it's given me a little bit of an inkling of the story, but not much. When I first discovered Inayat Khan and then Sufism, I had no idea that there was any Islam ever even part of that.
Right.
Probably
me
for a
either.
year or two,
Me
you know,
either.
I'm reading these books and I'm like having just this major awakening, and I'm just everything's unfolding and opening up, and then it's like I'm sitting in band practice one day and Kate comes in and she goes, so what do you think about the whole Islamic connection with Sufism? And I was like, Islamic connection? What are you talking about? And then it was just like, huh? What? That's not part of this. And then I got real defensive about it.
Because the way Hazrat Inayat Khan brought it to the West, he didn't stress any of that. He would give allegiance to Hindu things, he would give allegiance to Christian things, and to Muslim things, to Buddhist things. He was all inclusive, and that was what was so beautiful about it. That's what made him really a transitional figure, because I mean, to be totally inclusive of everybody and say everybody's welcome. It's all one thing. All it is trying to explain whatever you believe in. It will try to help you to understand whatever it is you are feeling, how you're experiencing reality. Basically, in other words, it's a way of experiencing reality. I think it's a way of experiencing our present reality at every moment that is a better, it shows, it's a path, it shows ways of connecting, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It shows the different ways to connect. And like you were saying with the intention, that's a simple thing to keep in mind, of just your intention. Like when you're doing something, what is your intention? It seems so simple, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, to try to
what an
think about
incredibly
what your
deep effect
intention
it has
is.
when you
Like
put
what-
that little thought into
Like,
it.
what is my intention in talking? It almost got to find this obviously lovely lady, and about something that is probably, maybe you have something really bad, a bad experience about Islam or something. I don't want to take that away from
I
you.
just don't like any organized religion. I'm allergic to all of them. I hate them.
Yeah, I don't like, or I
The
don't think
rigidity and the narrow-mindedness.
I agree, but see,
I just want
that's
to
the
be
exoteric.
mystical.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
the exoteric. You're a bit. If you want to be mystical, that's the interior. It doesn't. And the other part, the religious part, is the exoteric part. That could really be beautiful too.
But you have to think of it as a metaphor. That's the only way I can swallow it. I can't think of any organized religion literally.
Well,
I have to look for the message behind
like when we
the
do
crucifixion of Jesus. What a horrible thing.
Yeah.
So what's the message behind that?
Yeah. Well, I think if you want to know, you can find out.
Yeah.
But it's
And
gonna.
it's just an example.
And there's another thing too. What you were talking about, imagination, that made me think of something. Every person, I bet you, has their own imagination of whatever they think God is. I bet you everybody has. It's like in the Quran, it says everyone has their own religion.
That's what Buddhists say.
That's in the Quran too.
Buddhists say that there's many versions of God as there are people.
Yeah, and
That's nice.
that's what Muhammad said too. He
Because we
said
all have
everybody.
our own idea.
Right.
Because we all have our own journeys, and we
We're
all
all
come
trying
from
to
different.
connect.
And that's the imagination, like when you can imagine God, then God becomes alive before you. If I can imagine that God is surrounded, that's in me and through me, and like you said, that quote from the Bible, in whom we live and breathe and move.
Yeah.
If I can imagine that, and my imagination is strong enough to make that real, that's real. I'm experiencing God. I'm before God at that moment. I can imagine that. And is it, then people say, well, that isn't really the real God, but the real, if you're talking about the real God, the unknowable, the unspeakable, there's no way we're ever going to know that.
You can't even talk
No,
that.
humans can't even begin to know that. So we all have to construct our own as close as we can to whatever we can perceive and whatever we can feel and to communicate ourselves about God.
That's why we have religions, I guess.
That's right.
That's why we construct religions, maybe.
And sometimes I think it seems a lot of times that even all the organized religions, they all seem to have some kind of a mystic core within them. That everybody's all exoteric, but there's all these few guys sitting off somewhere.
Yeah.
Really?
There's like Christian
mountain or
mysticism, but it's like a
something
little
that are
pocket over here,
They're
Jewish mysticism, but it's a little pocket over here.
So, and I think
Yeah.
every religion, it has probably most of the people in the religion are exoteric, And they're just doing it as a social thing or as a prestige or as to feel good about themselves, and because they think they're going to be punished if they don't, or whatever their idea is. And there's always just a few, so-called mystics who really, truly want to experience the God within, and not so much the God without. I mean, God is within us, and God is outside of us and inside of us. So, I mean, if they want to, if that's as far as they want to go. But for me, it was always like, I wanted to understand the inside, because that was always the part I was so mysterious, what's going on? Why, what are these feelings? What are these experiences, And especially if you start having theophanic experiences where, you're meditating, you really think you feel God, or you feel like you're communicating with God, or maybe God is speaking to you, like one of our prayers. Hearing your voice constantly comes from within. Mm-hmm. God's voice constantly comes from within. Still voice from within. And so we have our own guidance within us, you might say, but it's not always hard to, it's not always easy to hear it.
I like that quote from Inayatiyya too, where he says that we're closer to God than the fishes are to the sea. Than the fishes, we're closer to God than the fishes are to the sea.
Yeah.
It's like they live in the sea. They're in it.
So we are God.
Muhammad said we're close.
We're not God, but
right. But
Muhammad said God is closer to us than our children are made.
yeah, I just know that over the many years that I've been seeking God or knowing God, experiencing God, that I've had experiences that have just made him so real to me that I can't deny it. And I just want to go deeper into that, and that just drove me to the mystical path. And, mysticism as a whole for me, I like it all. I've read a lot of Christian mystics, Jewish mysticism, something that I'm starting to take more interest in and understand a little bit more of. But all of it, it's just that really experiencing God as real in your life, in your heart, in your body, and in your soul, as opposed to this thought of God living in a cloud and, waiting for you to do something wrong and drop a lightning bolt on you. That's really kind of that. Yeah.
That's so terrible.
I mean, imagine what those religions did to mankind on this planet by introducing a punishing, punitive, separate God. They screwed up the whole planet. That's and guilt.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's wrong with the planet, is the religions.
Well, I think that what's wrong with the planet is the bankers.
Because they got separated from God by the religion.
Well, just as long as we're being funny about it, but it isn't funny because it's true. All of the Abrahamic religions condemn and forbid lending money for profit.
No, Judaism permits it.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
No, they call it
Usury.
Usury, yeah.
Well, Jews are allowed to lend Gentiles money for.
You what?
Jews are allowed to lend Gentiles money.
Yeah, but see, that's usury. And technically, it was forbidden, and it was also forbidden. It's called fiqh in Islam, and in Christianity, Jesus said, "Give Caesar what Caesar's got. What's God turned over the tables of the money changers." Mm-hmm. So, really, something that was forbidden in all three religions has enslaved humanity.
That's true. So mysticism doesn't necessarily mean you're going to start reading tarot cards, right?
No. See, because there's mystical.
I mean, there are people who. I mean, let me just say this: what I think is that if whatever you use is okay. There's nothing forbidden. It's just that it has to do with, how you understand it and what it is, how you work it.
Well,
Like I
Bible
know
doesn't
people
like it
who
so much.
use tarot cards and they use it in a very mystical way. I mean, I have those people.
You don't like tarot cards.
I used to.
And what?
Well, I had kind of a bad experience. I was in an organization that I felt was too dark. So I left. And, typically someone, I suppose in my situation, would went to church and become a devout Christian and just trying to find my way back to something a little bit lighter. So I did do. And it's the power of it is kind of frightening if you don't really know what you're doing. And I don't. I don't know where that comes from when you're just putting cards on the table and you look at someone and you tell them something about themselves you have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
I think it's, I was with the I Ching for about, Taoism,
That's the
when I
same
was
kind
real
of
young in my 20s for about 10 years or more. And that was the same thing. And basically what I came to realize with the stocks and all of the manipulation and all that, really, it's just, it's like throwing a coin or something. All it is it's a representation of that moment in time. So that was the way it happened. So
Synchronicity.
so if these stocks were something that happened in that particular moment, then they were representative of that moment. Now, if I could look at that and read something out of what that representation was, and I think that's what the tarots are. When you're laying the cards, it's in the moment, and then where the real skill comes in is interpretation. If you could get meaning out of reading that particular representation, you can, and if you can't, you can't. Probably all levels of it. But that's the way I think of that. I think of like if I put this glass and moved it there, somebody could probably say, oh wow, okay, the angles of that glass mean this, that, blah, blah, blah. And so in that moment, this was happening.
I guess it's all intention.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
And it's what you wanna learn, I think too. If you want to learn to read cards, if you want to learn astrology or anything. It's all about, it's all reality. It's all one thing, It's not any, it's multiplicity, but on the outside, but reality on the inside. Unity on the inside.
As long as it's not manipulation, I just hate that feeling that I'm being manipulated in some way. And all organizations kind of tend to make you feel that way. They were just paranoid.
See, with Sufism,
I've experienced that for sure.
yeah, me too.
And when I left the Christian church for a long time, and then I got in a Christian rock band and played a bunch of churches and things like that. And it was, I try to come back to it with, okay, now I've rectified my relationship with Jesus through my Sufi lineage. I understand more the fullness and the richness of what it's like to try to live a life like Christ. And I want to give that and I want to live that. So I'm going to go into this Christian church with that attitude and everything's going to be cool. And then there was a lot of the same, not always, but a lot of the same kinds of things came at me. How can you be a believer with long hair and tattoos? Really? It's 2013. Are we really going through this or whatever year it was? So you have that. And I think that there's always going to be, and we would go into churches too, and we'd be there to do a ministry and perform. And there would be, almost every place we went, one guy that would always come back and tell us all how we needed Jesus and tell us all how we needed this and we needed that. And it's like, wait a minute, you guys hired us to come in and preach to your congregation, and why would you do that if you don't think that we're capable of doing that? And so there's a lot of that going around too, I think. And it's just, you can run into that everywhere, and we've been to a lot of interfaith, Sufi, getting into Sufism got me into a lot of interfaith gatherings, and those things are a trip because everybody's there to bond as, bring all our faiths together. It's interfaith, and then everybody comes together and you see this just one or two people that come with complete love and openness and compassion, and 5 people sitting there that are just like, I'm not doing that chant because I ain't chanting to that God. And I ain't doing that prayer because I ain't praying to that dude. And it's like, well, we're not asking you to pray to any other God. We're just asking, let's join each other in all of our prayers so that we can unite together in that experience, and do something beautiful. But at the same time, there's people that are just, no, I'm not doing
I know where they go.
exactly. They might just stay home.
Yes, it's a universal peace. There's people who won't say the word Allah because they think it's Islamic and they think that it's a different God. I've actually heard people say, "I don't pray to that God." There's only
it's just
okay,
it's a different
I
word.
don't think there's different gods.
Yeah,
it's just everybody has their own name for God. In all the different languages.
When a couple years after I moved out here, I stumbled upon the Persian name of God, which is Khuda, Khuda. And for a while, I was like, Khuda, that's my word. I like that. Because what it really means in English is self-revealing. And I thought that was really, for where I was on my path at the time, really going more within and realizing that having my own revelation that God's within, and then experiencing that, and then having this name come up, Khuda, which is self-revealing, the true self, is that spark of God that's in us. That, man, that just was like, wow.
Another thing, I did the same thing. I grew up a Catholic, and then I left for a long time. Then when I was in my 50s, in my 70s. Now, when I was in my 50s, I think it was, I went back to Christianity because I thought, well, I'm studying all these other religions, but I don't really know the terminology. I have to learn all this vocabulary and everything. And I already know the Christian vocabulary. I already read the Bible, and I know where stuff is and how it relates and stuff. So I thought, well, if it's true that you can find God in literally anything, in a flower, in a rock, or anything you want to study, if you get deep enough, you get to the core of that, you're going to find God. Well, I thought, so any system should be as good as the next. So I started studying Christianity. And it was so weird because when I was in the Christian churches after that, after that I was in the Protestant churches, which I spent a lot of time in Nazarene actually, because I was playing music. I was drumming and I played in the bands and stuff. And so, I would tell Christians, well, God is within us. And they would go, what? And I would say, well, Jesus said God is within you. That I and the Father are one, God is within me, and whom we live and breathe and have our being. And that Jesus very specifically in more than one case said, God is within you. Know yourself and you know your Lord. And they would think that was heretical.
Yeah. God
isn't in you. You're not God. There's nothing in you but sin. They would say stuff like that and go like, oh, okay, how did this get backwards?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a poignant point. Because I experienced that too. And I mean, I'm 41. But when I was, young, I don't know, maybe it was just the area we grew up in too. It's a very small town, it's all bars and churches. So
In where, Ohio?
Sandusky, Ohio.
Oh.
Yeah, it's right in between Cleveland and Toledo.
Bible Belt.
Yeah.
Right, the Bible Belt begins in Ohio? Is that correct?
I think so. It probably does. Sounds about right to me.
It used to, but it lost weight and now it begins in Kentucky.
There you go.
I don't think I could bear to live in the Bible Belt. Oh my God.
That would be frightening, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I lived everywhere. I lived in amongst really Bible Belt people.
I mean, I remember seeing one time a lady in church she was sitting, probably from here to that pillow. I'm in the pew here, and I look down there and I see her purse is kind of flapped open. And I see a pack of cigarettes in there. So then when we get home, we're driving home from church and get home, we're eating lunch that day. And I said, I don't even know how old I was, maybe 9 or 10, I don't know. And I said, Mom, did you know that Mrs. So-and-so is going to hell? And she's like, what?
No.
And I said, yeah, I saw cigarettes in her purse. She's not treating her body like the temple. And mom's like, wait a minute, it's not quite like that, you know, but
Did they teach you to treat your body like a temple? Because they're all drinking Coca-Cola and eating.
well, see, that's
Yeah.
exactly, that's totally, I mean,
They
see,
don't
that's
know
the
that
thing.
that's bad.
Right. I was taught that to treat the body as a temple. That was definitely
That's a
a
good
teaching
teaching.
that I was taught, but not the real meaning of it. You know,
Those people drink Coca-Cola and
now I treat my body as a temple, you know, because I know that that lives in me, and that, you know, if God's gonna walk around in this, I got to clean it up a little bit.
but they don't know that all that stuff, how horrible it is.
Right.
They don't know. In Ohio, right?
No, I worked for Pepsi actually for quite a few years, and let me tell you something about the soda. Sandusky, Ohio, was at one point the largest selling Pepsi city in America, and it's a small
Per
town.
capita.
Yeah. And I remember my boss, he was consistently the top sales guy in the state, like year after year, because it was just
Is that why
people
Dad
love
loves
their
Pepsi?
Pepsi. Yeah.
Headquarters, it's headquartered there?
I don't know if they're headquartered there, but yeah, it's just intertwined with so many. There's an amusement park there, Cedar Point, and so Pepsi is Cedar Point is Pepsi products. So I think that has a lot to do with Pepsi's, you know, huge breadth there within that area. But yeah, when I broke a case open inside a truck that was sitting out behind a building, one of the stores, and then I came back a month later and saw, you know, some of this corrosion that it had taken off of the side of the truck. I was like, you know, I might stop drinking that.
You were drinking it. Yeah. So.
Well, I usually around this time I conclude with either a little meditation or we start to go into a little jam session and do some different things. I think what I'd like to do in place of that is read a couple brief little quotes from the guy on. This is actually the only book, one of only 3 books that Hazrat Knight Khan wrote himself. The other 14 books that are out are all lectures that he did that were transcribed into book form. But there's a couple really good nuggets in here that I think really kind of tie in everything that we've just talked about. And then we'll say a little closing prayer and have some more food. And if you guys want to play any instruments, we can do that. But there was one, where's this one? I quoted this a few weeks ago, but yes. I consider myself second to none, since I have realized in myself the one alone. I consider myself second to none, since I have realized in myself the one alone. I like that.
Yeah.
Say it again.
I consider myself second to none, since I have realized in myself the one alone.
That reminds me of Layla and Majnun, where Majnun comes and knocks at Layla's door, and she says, "Who's there?" And he says, "Majnun." She says, "Go. There's no room for Majnun in here. Go away." And he comes again, and on and on. You know, he keeps coming, and she keeps rejecting. And finally, he comes and he knocks, and he says, she says, "Who's there?" And he says, "Layla." And she lets him in.
Let's see. This is a good one. To be alone by oneself is like being with a friend whose company will last forever. As soon as you knock at the gate of God, which is your heart, from there the answer comes. As soon as you knock at the gate of God, which is your heart, from there the answer comes. Let's see. One or two more here. Another apt one. Put your trust in God for support and see his hidden hand working through all sources. Right underneath that. Man looks for wonders. If he only saw how very wonderful is the heart of man. I think that's a really good one to just to point out. Like, this really goes with the discussion I think that we had, because we don't see ourselves as God or as, divine beings or celestial in most cases. We just see ourselves as human beings, walking through life, and we don't see and express our wonder enough, And I think that that's what I was trying to point out earlier, is that we all have our own unique gifts, and that we all have our own unique thing that makes up the whole totality of the beauty of God, And so when he says, man looks for wonders, if only he saw how very wonderful is the heart of man.
I don't know if this is a rumor, but it seems like I heard somewhere that somebody had a heart transplant and they were able to play a musical instrument for the first time.
Oh, wow.
From this and having received this other.
Well, I'd be pretty, just scientifically, the electromagnetic energy that comes from the heart's area is greater than the electromagnetic energy that comes from the brain. So, like, you can entrain hearts like across a room. You could all of our energies right here are training right now. We're all experiencing one another, and we're also exchanging information non-verbally. And like, there's this thing in about more information is transmitted non-verbally and it's a non-conscious thing too. It's not just like body language, and stuff like that, but it has to do with actual information passing between hearts, and hearts are always exchanging information.
Cool.
Heart to heart.
Heart to heart. And what we get, so we're out so much up here all the time. Like, I know for me, I'm speaking for myself, I'm always in my thoughts, in my mind, in my intellect, and it's hard to turn that off sometimes. And that's the smaller part,
It's dysfunctional. It's the dysfunctional part. It can solve math problems, but it's not it.
Well, the intellect is the light, and the heart is love. Light and love. The intellect lights our way, and we can make sense, cast the light on things and understand them with the intellect. But the heart is the love.
I got one last one here that I think is probably the most appropriate for what we just talked about. We each picture God in the form we imagine, thus making many gods out of the one single being. So perfect. We each picture God in the form we imagine, thus making many gods out of the one single being. So that's a really interesting idea, because everyone has their own image, their own idea of God. Everybody has their own way, and there's no way that, even if you study the same thing and you're in the same Bible study, same Sufi group, same Buddhist monastery, you're still going to have a different, slightly variation of image of what God is from your own heart, based on the person next to you. And so that is where the separation begins, because we don't always see God in everything. We have our own image, our own imagination of God. And when you can break through that, as we say, lifting the veils or breaking through the veils, when you lift that, you see the reality of God, and then you see that it's not all these little imaginations or little ideas of what God is. It's this one big, huge, all-encompassing, this big entity of, love and light, like you said, and how all those gifts and those different names manifest into our reality as who we are and how we can bring those forth. So, well, I want to thank everybody for coming, and
Thank you for having us.
yeah.
And Faith No More is a band, by the way.
I do have faith.
Thanks.
I thought appropriate shirt for the evening.
I remember that band.
I went and saw them last night.
That was what?
I went and saw them last night.
You
So
did?
they're doing their first album in 18 years.
I know, because I'm thinking like, wow, they're from a way back.
Yeah, they had a hit like in the late 80s, early 90s.
Which band?
Faith No More.
Oh.
Yeah, they had a couple good hits back in the
Yeah.
day.
How'd they sound?
They were really good. I was really impressed.
After 18 years.
Yeah. Their singer, he's probably been in like 20 different bands over the years. He's got all these side projects, and he comes out with one band it's all in Italian, and it's got an Italian orchestra, and it's like all jazzy stuff and lounge music.
What's his name?
Mike Patton. Yeah, he does all kinds of stuff. And then another thing's all like video game music and screaming vocals over top of that. And then he's got Faith No More's like his rock band, and he just does all kinds of stuff. But he was amazing. I was very impressed. All right, so I'm just going to close with the prayer Khatum. And I have to read along because I'm terrible at memorizing this one. O thou who art the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the Lord of the heaven and the earth, open our hearts that we may hear thy voice, which constantly cometh from within. Disclose to us thy divine light, which is hidden in our souls, that we may know and understand life better. Most merciful and compassionate God, give us thy great goodness, teach us thy loving forgiveness, raise us above the distinctions and differences which divide us, send us the peace of thy divine spirit, and unite us all in thy perfect being. Amen. Who wants cake? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, let's see that.
Pepper's like, yeah, did you say cake?
You say cake, I say woof.
So yeah, I do this once a month. Usually it's like the third week of the month. The last couple months it's been moved back a week, but it'll change up. But I announce that I meet up. I also have a website called Holistic Musician. I have a lot of different blogs, a lot of different teachings and things on there. I have most all of our old past sessions are either on video or the text and everything. All the stuff that I read will be up there if you want to go there and check that out. And I'll have the schedule up there of new stuff happening. And I'm hoping I'm kind of shooting for July. I'd like to do a healing service here.
We have the Moksha Festival in July.
Yeah.
What festival?
Moksha, it's that.
Liberation. Is that a Sufi thing?
No, it's yoga. It's a big yoga thing they have every year. Last year it was.
The Staples Center is like a big huge
Yeah,
yoga convention.
Yeah, last year it was out in the woods. I really liked it. It was someplace in the mountains. I can't remember where.
And this time?
This time Staples Center.
Yeah, I think it's a convention center or Staples.
That's
Yeah,
gonna
it's-
be different.
yeah, it'd be really different. But yeah, I'd like to do a healing service, and with that, what we do is basically compile a list of names of people that need healing or in need of healing, and It's a very short service. It's not a long one. I've not performed one yet myself. I've done it for myself, and I've done it as part of my training, but I've not done one since I started this group up. So I'm thinking maybe sometime July, do a healing service. So anybody's interested in that, it's a very transformative
Sounds great.
little hour-long service, and
Okay, so the next announcement you make, you'll
yeah,
Tell
probably
us what
within
it
a week, probably next week, I'll have it up on Meetup when the next one will be.
and
Trying to
then
figure out
it'll
the
tell
date.
us what the meeting will be about. What to expect.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it depends. Like I try to really, like a few weeks ahead of time, have a concept and an idea for what the topic's going to be for that night. There's been a few times that it's just changed and it like just something comes over me and I'm like, no, I got to do this topic for me, you know? So I try to go where I'm led, but I'm usually led back to whatever I
I
wrote the
think
first
that's,
time.
you know, that's a really good, that's how Tasneem works. Rashida Tasneem, she works intuitively. She kind of is right, you know, she has such a vast background, you know, to pull from that. When she works intuitively, she pulls from here and there and everywhere. But I think that's good, really, because, you know, that's like kind of like not constraining yourself to a particular rigid.
What happens with me is too much of myself comes through if I get my head too much into it. And I want to be a channel. I want to be used. You know, I want a message to come through me. And even though I'm reading something that's written in stone, it's penned paper, there's so much spirit there. There's so much that can be translated out of that I want to be able to really give that spirit and deliver it in a way that it comes across. So that's a challenge. That's always hard when you're hosting a study group or any kind of thing. You know, when you sit down with the Bible, how do you read a passage and really get the nuggets out of it rather than just reading it as a passage? You know, the same with, you know, all the books and things that I've read. I'll take a sentence and I'll go back. Like with Ibn al-Arabi, that class that we do, we're on one chapter about Seth, and we've read the whole chapter twice, and I think we just started it again, and it's probably 12 pages long.
And you know, every time you read that book, the whole Fasus, it's different every time.
Yeah,
And every time
every time we go back a third time, we're on the same
It's
page,
like,
and it's
You
just
see
a
something
whole new
different.
revelation.
Isn't it like
comes
that
out.
with all
Yeah.
the revelations? So you go through anything. You go through the Torah, the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, anything like that. You read it through, you get, it speaks to you in a very personal way, and then, you know, you go on, and the next time it'll speak to you about something else. It's really strange how that works, but it's because, you know, I don't know what it's because of, but I know it happens.
Yeah.
It's because it's alive. I guess that's the proof that something is alive, when it can talk to you and speak to you, you know.
In a different
A
way.
living
Yeah.
word, yeah.
Yeah, when you're actually holding a conversation with the scripture, then it's alive.
Yeah.
You know, when you're speaking and it's answering, and it's speaking and you're answering. When it's a conversation, then it's alive.
That's how oracles are.
If you're interested, you can come to the Inayatiyya class. Anybody can.
I'll try to get with you guys this week.
Well, actually, no, I have to ask Steve about that. I should be inviting people. We have a class that I think it would be okay, but I have to really find her.
You show up on Friday.
But if you give
I'm very grateful we had
me or somebody
met you.
contact information, I'll try to send you. And what it is every 2 weeks. It's usually on Wednesday night. It lasts about 2 hours. We have studies.
Here or the
Ibn al-Arabi, who was a sheikh who lived in the last part of 1100 to 1200s. He was called the Sheikh al-Akbar, the greatest sheikh, because he was. I believe he was divinely inspired. His books are anyway, we studied it. There's a Ibn Arabi society because we have over 400 books, and there's just very few of them translated into But over the past couple hundred years, some were translated, they've been being translated throughout the centuries, and finally they're making their way into English. That's what we're studying. That's what the class is. And we're studying the vessels of wisdom, which is most abstract.
I wish I could have arranged one with Dad.
It's really, it's a fun.
I know, but I know this would be way out.
It's in Berkeley.
Way out. of left field.
It's good to be stretched.
So,
I just like him to see. Kind of know who I am.
if not, you could go to the website, to their new website. He's building a new website for our teachers. And it's on there.
Yes, we'll see you soon.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Sikander, do you have any announcements for the Inayatiyya class on the website? And I don't know if that's an open class or if it has to be. Maybe I have to run it. Maybe I have to get it okay from Tom.
She said she's definitely open to having anybody come. I think she'd just like to, personally give give me a call or email me, and I'll give you the information, and just so she can make a personal connection first.
So maybe,
But yeah.
So anyway, then if you want to check it out, our next class is
churchofall.us is her website, and I run her website as well. So.
And I think the next class is going to be this. No, it's on
Are you a
Thursday.
webmaster?
It's this coming Thursday.
By proxy, yeah. It's like
Every other week.
I know a little bit about HTML and things like that, but I definitely build websites, and I do that for my work, and
So I guess
that
you
kind
Because
of
that's
thing.
what you do it.
She's out of town.
That's not my. I do tech support for a company, but because of my technical knowledge, I build all the websites for our company and everything like that. So yeah, I can definitely do it.
Do you do SEO?
I do. Yeah,
Are you up with all the latest techniques?
I would have to probably do a little bit of brush up to really do it on a regular basis. But yeah, I mean, I have a lot of experience. I used to I was a marketing coordinator for Alpha Publishing Company for a long time.
So you know SEO well?
I know it well. Like I said, I'd have to know the latest trends and to really kind of maximize it. I would want to study it up a little more. But
Oh, because
I
I
can't
have
say
a
anything
very
about it. It's
outdated
just the
website
fact
that
that
needs
it's a little bit
a
more
facelift
It's
and
really,
SEO.
really,
let me take a look.
Okay, can I give it to you and then you
Yeah,
can comment with a quote?
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
I'll leave you my
if
phone
we
number
could
because
just go spend
when
about 2 hours.
your
on it,
wife is in
discussing
NCMF,
That is
That's
great.
all.